The rain poured down relentlessly, drenching the streets with a coldness that matched the ache in his heart. David sat on a worn-out bench outside a small convenience store, his daughter asleep in his arms, her tiny face pressed against his chest, unaware of the storm raging both outside and inside her father. In his pocket, crumpled and damp from his trembling hands, was a single $5 bill. That was all he had left, $5 to keep his daughter fed, sheltered, and alive for another day. His eyes were red, not just from the biting wind, but from nights spent awake, worrying how much longer he could hold on. Life had not always been this cruel. Once, David had dreams like anyone else, steady work, a loving partner, a little house filled with laughter. But life's storms do not announce their arrival. His wife's sudden passing left him drowning in grief, debt, and responsibilities he never imagined facing alone. Employers didn't care about the single father who left early to pick up his child from school or missed shifts when she was sick. Bills piled high, cupboards emptied, and soon, pride was replaced by survival. And now, here he was, $5 to his name, sitting under the weight of despair. High voltage. If you believe kindness and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, I Am Kindness Corner. Your support spreads these real, powerful stories to more hearts that need hope. That night, David thought about buying a cheap loaf of bread and maybe a small carton of milk. It wouldn't be enough, but at least his daughter, Emma, wouldn't go to bed hungry. As he carried her into the store, he noticed the brightness of the lights compared to the darkness inside him. He picked up the bread, then stood in front of the milk, staring at the price tag. If he bought both, he would have almost nothing left. If he chose just one, his daughter might not get the nutrition she needed. His hands shook as he put one item back, then picked it up again, trapped in the cruel choice no parent should have to make. Unbeknownst to him, someone was watching. A young man, sharply dressed yet humble in presence, had been standing in the corner of the store. His name was Ethan, a CEO of a growing tech company. At just 28, he had tasted success, wealth, and recognition. Yet tonight, he was reminded of the days before his empire, when he too had struggled, when his mother counted coins to buy dinner, and when he often went to bed hungry but never let her see his tears. As Ethan observed David's silent war in front of the shelves, something stirred deep inside him. David finally approached the cashier with only the bread, swallowing his shame. He paid with the last of his money, then walked back into the rain, clutching his daughter close. He did not notice Ethan following at a distance, quietly observing the man who carried the weight of the world with such quiet dignity. When David reached the bus stop, he sat down, shielding Emma with his jacket. The bread remained unopened in his lap, because somehow it didn't feel right eating it when tomorrow promised more hunger. Ethan approached, hesitating for a moment. He wasn't sure how the man would react, but he knew he couldn't just walk away. In that instant, Ethan made a choice. He would not just give him money, but something far more powerful, an opportunity. The next day, David awoke to the sound of Emma's soft voice calling him. She was hungry, but he had nothing left to give. He broke the bread into small pieces, handing them to her with a forced smile. "It's just a snack, sweetheart. We'll have something better later," he whispered, though his heart was breaking. As he cleaned up, there was a knock at the door. Standing there was Ethan, holding 2 bags of groceries. David was stunned, suspicious even, but Ethan simply said, "I saw you yesterday. I couldn't just walk away." What started as groceries became conversations. Ethan visited again, and again, learning more about David's story, his struggles, his love for his daughter, his willingness to sacrifice everything for her happiness. Ethan saw not a man broken by poverty, but a father held together by love. Slowly, Ethan began offering small ways to help, introducing David to contacts, encouraging him to apply for jobs, even helping with Emma's school supplies. But Ethan's kindness didn't stop there. He realized that David wasn't looking for charity. He was looking for dignity, for a chance to stand on his own feet again. And so, one morning, Ethan extended a life-changing offer, a position at his company. It wasn't just any role. Ethan had seen David's resourcefulness and resilience, the way he balanced 100 challenges with nothing but grit. He created a job where David could use his natural problem-solving skills and offered flexible hours so he could still be there for Emma. David was overwhelmed, unsure if he deserved such a chance, but Ethan's belief in him became the spark he had been missing. Weeks turned into months, and life began to change. The man who once counted coins for bread now walked with purpose, providing not just food but stability for his daughter. Emma thrived, her laughter filling the small apartment like sunlight breaking through clouds. And David, he rediscovered himself, his strength, his hope. He no longer lived in survival mode. He was living. But perhaps the most beautiful part of this story is not just David's transformation, it was the bond formed between two men from different worlds. Ethan, the young CEO, had given David a chance, but in return, David reminded Ethan of something far more valuable than wealth, the power of compassion, the meaning of success beyond profit, and the legacy of kindness that outlives money. By the end of the year, David had saved enough to move into a better home, one with a little backyard where Emma could play. On her birthday, Ethan surprised her with a swing set. As she laughed and swung higher, David stood beside Ethan, his eyes moist. He whispered, "You didn't just change my life, you saved it." Ethan simply smiled and replied, "Sometimes, all it takes is to notice someone struggle and choose to care." The story of David and Ethan reminds us all that behind every face we pass on the street, there might be a silent battle we cannot see. It reminds us that kindness is not about grand gestures, but about seeing, listening, and choosing to make a difference. A single act of compassion can ripple through generations, changing not just one life, but countless others. And so, dear viewer, if this story touched your heart, I ask you sincerely, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to I Am Kindness Corner. Every interaction helps us bring more true, powerful, and inspiring stories like this to you and to people who may desperately need hope. Glowing star, before you leave, I have a special request. In the comments below, write the words, "Kindness lives on," if you believe in the power of second chances and compassion. Let's fill the comments with hope, light, and love. Because sometimes, all it takes is a single act of kindness to change someone's entire world.